What is up, everybody? It is Wick here. I'm going to show you some things you can look for at thrift stores and garage sales. Find them cheap, sell them on eBay, and make some money. These are items that can be kind of deceiving. If you just walk past them, you might not realize they're worth money. And the first item is going to be this Vegas dice game. This is something I've actually walked by. It was seen in a video. Somebody pointed it out to me, and I've been looking for one ever since. It's been about 2 years now. I still haven't found one. And I think it's because you see cheap poker chips, cheap card games like this everywhere you go, and it's kind of deceiving in that sense. It just doesn't seem like it'd be valuable, but it is. Obviously new, this stuff is going to be worth more than used, but even used, this game's still selling for around $100. Of course, with board games, condition matters. They need to have all the pieces to get full value, but still a lot of these higher end games that you find, you can sell the pieces if you don't have a complete set, or people will buy them incomplete just because they're rare and that valuable. But keep an eye out for it. Vegas dice can bring you in some money. And here we have a Trivial Pursuit game. If you go to a thrift store, you're probably going to see a Trivial Pursuit game of some sort. It's just almost a fact. They make so many different editions, but some of them are worth money. You should pay attention to them. Here's one that looks very basic, but it's a 40th anniversary Ruby edition. And you can see for new, over $200. Pre-owned, there's one for $150, $125 pre-owned. So finding this it's definitely going to make you some money. You're probably going to get it cheap. I bet a lot of people would just walk past it because you're kind of trained to see Trivial Pursuit games, right? Just wherever you go. Here's one that's actually classic rock. Looks to be pretty good. 75 new. There's one pre-owned for $54. So that's a pretty good one to pick up as well. Really, if you see one you haven't seen before or one that looks special, definitely check into it. Could be worth money. So here's something I actually picked up at a rummage sale a month or so ago for $1, and this is the Talisman board game. You see for all the expansions and everything, you're looking at $800. I got the 4th edition one here, new, sold for $500. Mine was not sealed, but the parts actually kind of look new in there, at least some of them. I haven't listed it yet. I'm probably going to list it for about $200, I would imagine. Here's some new for $300 and all this kind of stuff. The expansions, even the older editions are still selling great. That's the great thing about like rummage sales and garage sales. A lot of these games you find for 50 cents or $1, usually no more than $5, but you know, if somebody knows what they got, they might price this up, right? Still lots of comps at $200. Here's one over $200. So I might even price mine a bit more, but keep an eye out for it. Here's something I kind of remember from my childhood. I don't think I ever had this game, but this is Tornado Rex, and this is a very expensive game. Even if you're finding it pre-owned, there's a pre-owned. It looks like over $300. $295 for another pre-owned. I think it's just kind of like a Tasmanian devil type toy where you wind it up and it goes down and knocks off your figures or something. Kind of like Fireball Island was. I have never found this game, but I would love to come across it. $250, basically if you find this complete, you're getting over $200. Here's an incomplete one that sold for $170, right? Just a high-end game, very desirable, very collectible. So in other videos, I talked about some of the Franklin Mint monopolies that sell for, you know, hundreds of dollars, if not in the thousands, and some of these more luxury board games. Here's Luxury Clue. It's in a wooden box. And some of these collectible board games from basic games like Monopoly, Clue, Candyland, stuff like that, could just be worth more money. New over $200, pre-owned right around $200. So if you just happen to see this and it just says Clue, you can be like, well, wait a minute. Here's a Clue collector's edition and I can actually make more money on this. There's some vintage Clue games also that are like 1972 sealed for $100. I've sold sealed basic games like this before too. If you find them new, you know, it makes them worthwhile. But if you're finding them pre-owned, a lot of times, you know, they might not sell for much, $15-20. But keep an eye out for these collector's editions. Definitely money in them. Here's another great game, vintage electronic board game, the Mall Madness. There's lots of versions of Mall Madness. Some of the newer ones are not worth much at all. But the 1989 version here with the electronics, we got $384. 300, 200, another 200, lots of parts. Good luck finding it complete. But again, you can still make money even if this stuff isn't complete or isn't working, if you're getting it for $1 or $2. As always, just make sure you're looking at the year. Just because you find a Mall Madness doesn't mean it's going to be worth money. It needs to be the right one. Here's another kind of similar game, the Dream Phone. And I've sold the, what is it, Girl Talk, I think it's called. I found that one time and sold it for a couple $100 sealed. I believe I had that in another video, but You also got the Dream Phone, and again, $250 complete and in good condition you're getting for that. So finding this stuff at a garage sale, you find someone in the right age bracket that's just selling all their original toys from childhood, or the parents selling their kids' toys, right? You can just find all kinds of games like this. But a lot of these electronic games from the 80s and 90s, they're worth quite a bit if they have electronics in them. I'm not sure why. I've just noticed that. I guess because they're unique for the time period. Stuff was just branching out into that as technology got a bit better. So I've talked about some Angry Bird stuff that I sell on Amazon a lot. I get some pretty good money. Here is a game I've actually found and sold on eBay before. Unfortunately, mine was missing some pieces. I still ended up selling it for $80 or $90 and it sold very quick. This is Angry Birds Mega Fling, and you can make some great money on this. There's some Angry Bird stuff just not worth buying at all. Other stuff like this is just rare. It's very easy to walk past this kind of stuff if you're not paying attention or don't know what you're looking for. And here's another one, Angry Birds Mega Smash. Not worth as much, but still complete. You're getting around $100 for it, pre-owned. Never found Mega Smash. I found Mega Fling, and I'm sure at some point I'm going to come across it again. So if you haven't realized, this is very board game heavy. Some people wanted me to go over some valuable board games and talk about them, so I kind of fell down the rabbit hole, and here's one of the ones that I didn't realize was worth this much at the moment. This is a Star Wars Phantom Menace game, and it's worth pre-owned. You're getting around $400 complete. And the reason why this would be something that I might look past is because you see a lot of Star Wars Phantom Menace stuff. Lots of games, lots of toys. It's worth practically nothing. Fun story. Back when this movie came out, I was like, 17? I think, and I bought a sealed card game, Phantom Menace, and I just put it in a box, and I said, one day this will be worth a lot of money. And a year ago or so, I found that box. I was going through it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a reseller now. Let's check this out and see if it did anything. Unfortunately, it's worth nothing. It might even be worth less than what I paid for it. So it just goes to show you, stuff doesn't always go up in value like that. Especially Star Wars. They mass produce a lot of that. I should have bought these, apparently, not the other game. And the reason why this is probably worth so much is it's Avalon Hill. They make a lot of very high-end strategy games. This game might have been close to $100 to buy new anyway. You probably had to go to like a special store, a gaming store to get it, or buy it online or something like that, right? Still, if you happen to come across this, check it out. I always say check out Star Wars stuff regardless. I found a 1988 Return of the Jedi board game recently in just almost mint condition. It's worth like $20. So just don't come across this stuff and be like, oh yeah, Star Wars board game. Oh, and I'm just gonna, this person at a garage sale has $30 on it. It's gotta be worth that. And you just buy it because you're gonna get home and you're probably gonna find out it's not worth as much as you thought. It's always good to do research, but what a phenomenal game. It would be great to find one of these. Even some of the pieces people are selling for $50. So you find this, you're definitely making money. Here's a game that's very easy to miss. You see a lot of these Milton Bradley kind of older games. This happened somewhat recently in a Goodwill. I went in and there's a new cart with all these old board games. I'm like, wow, some of these I've never seen in the wild before. And I started doing research on them and they're just not worth picking up. They just don't sell. They're oversaturated. But here's one that looks like it could be one of those games that's not valuable, but it's called Hotels, 1987, and you can see here around $300 new, around $200 pre-owned with all the pieces. And there's one that's called like Hotels and one that's just called Hotel. Like this one just says Hotel. Like maybe that one's a foreign one. I'm not sure, but this is one I've been keeping an eye out for. I have not come across it yet. So one day it'll be sitting there in a garage sale for $1 or so, and I'll happily buy it and make some money. Here's something that I feel like I've probably passed at some point. These, I think it's mostly Bombay that makes them, but it's some sort of solitaire game with marbles. It's got the little wooden circle that they sit in. I don't know how it's played, but there's a following for them, and people will pay up for them pre-owned around $100 with the board. Marbles. I feel like this is something that just doesn't seem like it'd be worth $100, right? Even if you go back up here and look at the box, it's just a very basic box that says Bombay on it, but still going to be worth some money. And let me know in the comments if anything I'm talking about in this video, if you found it, if you already knew about it. I'm always curious to hear. And also let me know your best board game find. Would definitely love to hear about that. And also, don't forget to hit that like button for me and make sure you're subscribed. I really appreciate the support. There's so many board games out there, like literally thousands of them that are worth picking up to sell. Some of the very high-end strategy games that you see for like the extreme board gamer, I guess you would call them, you're not going to find them too often, but they're always probably going to be worth picking up at a good thrift store price. I want to focus more on this video of just kind of things that's easy to miss. And this is one of them, group therapy, because there's different versions of this and some of the versions are not that great. But this 1969 group therapy board game can sell pre-owned for, well, here's one, 200, looks like around 150 for some of them, 100. And I think actual therapists might use this is one reason. I know there's different therapy board games that sell well, like are actually made for therapists to use, if you happen to find any of those. But just look at the box. It just looks like a basic old card game. Very easy to pass up, in my opinion. So I talked about some of these older games from the 60s and 70s and 80s. They're very cheap games. They just mass produced them and they're based off of TV shows and movies just to, cash in. Most of them are just not worth money. I've bought so many blind at garage sales for like $1. You look them up and you're just kind of disappointed in the end. But here's one. It's a Dracula game. Anything horror like this will do well. So 179, 100. Here's Dracula PlayStation. Not a lot of these on there, but there's another one, Witch from 1970, which is like a Halloween trick-or-treat game. From the best of my knowledge, I don't know how it plays or anything. I have found one of these at a garage sale. I think they wanted $30 or $40 for it, and it was in terrible condition, so I ended up passing. But certainly, keeping an eye out for one at a good price and in good condition. I'll take one even in bad condition if it's $1, right? I'm not that greedy. So here's something that many might not classify as a board game, even though these things are sold in the board games section of stores. That's Ouija boards. And some of the old ones from the 20s and 30s, the William Fold boards that are wooden, can be some great money. And here's one from the 40s. And I've sold some before. I found one sealed from the 80s. I think it was just like Milton Bradley or Parker Brothers, whoever made it. I sold it for around $100. I've sold certain ones on Amazon before used that sell okay. I've never actually found a antique one, a rare one like this, but can be worth hundreds of dollars even if you just got the board. Here's one from 1969, $350. But people will buy these. The one I sold actually went to a shop in the UK, somebody who sells stuff like this. But definitely a great thing to look out for. Here's some more of these electronic type games. This is Talking Football. They made different sports games, Mattel did, and some of them just aren't worth anything, but this Talking Football is. You're looking at pre-owned ones around $79 to $100. There's a few different versions as well. There's this superstar lineup, then just like a basic one. Both are worth keeping an eye out for. If you see any old games and they're got electronics, again, I think there's a lot of value in most of those. Recently at a rummage sale, I picked up one of these American Heritage board games, and they make different ones, usually kind of like war games. Unfortunately, the one I got for 50 cents was missing some pieces, but I just sold the pieces for $30 plus shipping, the pieces that I had. It was an airplane game. I forget, I think Dogfight was what it was called, but there's Broadside here, which is pretty good. The Battleship one's pretty good. Yeah, there's the Dogfight one I had. Unfortunately, it just wasn't complete, but they make a lot of different ones. And there's a lot of history-themed war games that are worth a lot of money. If you see any Civil War games, any World War II games, certainly look them up. Here's something that tickled the nostalgia part of my brain. I don't think I own this. I feel like I did though, because I remember like touching the little cars, like maybe someone I knew had it. But this is Crash Canyon. This came out, I was 8 years old, so I don't remember a lot from when I was 8, but I do remember Fireball Island, and this is a very similar game to Fireball Island. So I'm pretty sure I had this or played it somewhere. Anyway, it's one of those things that you don't think about very often, then you see it and you're like, whoa, I can kind of remember this. It's a good game if you find it used. Probably not as good as Fireball Island. It's going to be one of those games that's in a huge box like Fireball Island. I do really want to find Fireball Island because I just have, memories of that as a kid. It's on my bucket list of things to find, but just a cool game if you happen to find it and make some money. Here's one of these movie games, The Goonies. Was kind of shocked that how much this was selling for. Over $100 pre-owned, even near complete, over $100. 1985 Goonies sell for $115, but 1988 Star Wars Return of the Jedi, not worth much at all. Here's another example of electronic games, and this one I would love to find, A Voice of the Mummy. Around $600, complete and in great condition. Here's one for $250. I'm not sure if these are complete. Here's one working for over $100. It looks like these up here probably took best offer or didn't actually sell for $800. Looks like more over $200 is the actual price. And here is a public assistance board game. This is a game that, people use the keyword banned. I don't know if it's actually technically banned, but it is, very offensive, I'm sure, to some people. But you can see some of these are great. I actually have a copy of this I need to get listed, pre-owned. I need to figure out if all the pieces are in there, but pre-owned. I have the 1980 version, so $120. Doesn't look like much of a board game, right? But still, just because of what it is, it has value. But there it is, everybody. That's my video for today. Showed you some great items you can look out for. Hopefully find some, make some money. Every time I make one of these videos, I get messages within the next week where people watch the video, they go to their thrift store, or they go to a garage sale, rummage sale, an auction, and they find something I talked about. Same with me. I've had some very good luck talking about some of this stuff in the video, and then literally within a week I find it myself. I got lots of videos like this, not just board games, so check those out if you haven't. But thank you for watching. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, flipping_junk. And this has been Wick. Till next time.